Mangwana ni Mwalelepo Vukenjani Class Vadave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Betty and Aina Kweyo. How are you, Aina?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Now, in today's broadcast, self-exiled Ivory Coast ex-MP Guillaume Soro plans return. Thousands march in Cape Town in solidarity with Palestinians. And China calls on Zambia's creditors to take a fair burden in debt restructuring. You can catch all our stories on our website, which is called oneup2.com, or you can watch all our programs on DSTV 285 as well as GoTV 25 in Namibia. Now later on the show, we have Master Mike Sichula all the way from Zambia, who's going to come tell us everything that is happening in that land. We'll be right back shortly.
Win a double trolley dash in our birthday bonanza while saving on these. Get 750-gram Nola Street-style mayo for $27.99. 1 liter Clover New Mel for just $15.99. 500-gram Bacomo cornflakes for just $29.99. 2 times 1.25 liter Coca-Cola for $24.99. And 5 kg Top Score Super Maize for $59.99. See the details of our incredible double trolley dash competition at www.vurmanbrock.com.
Getting into our top stories, former Ivory Coast Prime Minister Guillaume Soro, who took himself into exile in 2019, says he plans to return home despite having 2 criminal convictions. He said on Sunday that he wanted to go back because it was hard to live far away from my ancestral land of Africa. He added that he wanted to contribute to the reconciliation of the country. In 2021, an Ivorian court sentenced Soro in absentia to life imprisonment for undermining national security. The previous year, he had been sentenced to 20 years on charges relating to the embezzlement of public funds. Both convictions happened while Soro was in self-imposed exile, which began in December 2019.
Tens of thousands of South Africans took part in a march in Cape Town on Saturday in support of Palestinians living in Gaza, demanding that the Israeli ambassador be expelled. The marchers were led by clergy from different faiths chanting Free Palestine, including anti-apartheid cleric Dr. Alan Busek, who called for the Israeli embassy to be shut down. That apartheid state that's been waging a war of extermination for the last 75 years against our people, he said to the crowd amid cries of shut it down. That apartheid state that cannot stop murdering children. For every Palestinian child in a coffin, we say shut it down. Every piece of land stolen from our people in Palestine, shut it down, he said. Palestinian officials says over 11,000 people have been killed in Gaza, 40% of them children, since the start of the Israel war. The South African government on its side said it would recall all its diplomats from Israel to signal its concerns over the situation in Gaza.
Staying with Gaza, United Nations workers observed a minute's silence on Monday to honor the more than 100 employees killed in Gaza since the Israel-Hamas war began last month as UN flags flew half-mast. Let's have a look at that video.
Over the last month, 101 of our colleagues have lost their lives in Gaza. This is the highest number of aid workers killed in the history of our organization in such a short time. And we are gathered here today, united in this very symbolic location, to pay respect to our brave colleagues who sacrificed their lives while serving under the United Nations flag.
Liberians will vote on today in a runoff election between President George Weah and former Vice President Joseph Boakai after a fiercely fight first round in which neither was able to score over 50% of the vote to secure an outright victory. Football icon Weah, who's 57, led the first round in October, gaining 43.83% of the votes, and Boakai had 43.44%. Boakai, who's 78, is a political veteran who from 2006 to 2018 was a deputy to Ellen Johnson, Africa's first elected female head of state. Analysts say the thin margin of votes between them, just 7,126 votes out of almost 2 million votes, and the absence of a strong third candidate means round will also be very competitive. The 2023 election has been a rematch of the vote in 2017 when we won with over 61%. This is the country's fourth post-war presidential election, but the first one without the presence of the United Nations mission, which previously provided support to the country's election commission.
And Kenyans have been given a special holiday to plant 100 million trees as part of the government's goal to plant 15 billion trees in 10 years. The holiday allows each and every Kenyan to own the initiative. According to Environment Minister Soipan Tuya, each Kenyan is being encouraged to plant at least 2 seedlings, leading to the 100 million target. The initiative is intended to help fight climate change. Trees help tackle global warming by absorbing carbon monoxide from the air while releasing oxygen into the atmosphere. Now the government is 50 million seedlings in public nurseries. It is providing the seedlings for free at its forest agency centers for Kenyans to plant.
We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians.
In a bid to increase fuel imports, our authorities are in talks with Tanzania to construct a new pipeline from Dar es Salaam to Zambia. Master Mike Sichula has this story and more. Good morning, Master Sichula. Please take it away.
Thank you very much, Africa. Good morning to our viewers. Yes, indeed, Zambia is engaging Tanzania to construct a new pipeline which will increase the country's capacity in fuel importation. There is already a pipeline that was constructed during the reign of the First Republic under that President Kenneth Kaunda. But according to the new Minister of Energy, Mr. Peter Kapara, he says the new pipeline will run side by side with the old one and will carry over 4 million liters of fuel. So he says the Tanzanian government is also planning to use this same facility to supply fuel to the north, to the western and eastern part of Tanzania. So as the pipeline will be constructed, it is expected that Zambia is going to have a cheaper fuel, because as we speak presently, the price of fuel has gone up, and it is negatively affecting business operations. For several CSOs praised government for the cancelling of operation in the mine. The stakeholders included environmental defenders, activists, civil society organizations, who said that the step to cancel the decision to mine in the Lower Zambezi National Park sets a new precedence with regard to the exploration of mineral resources in Zambia. Meanwhile, the company that is behind this mining did not follow laid down procedure when undertaking initial development in the mining area. So this is the state of affairs.
All right, Master Sichula, moving on to your next story. Zambia plans to make the Kazongola border a non-stop border for free movement between tourists between Zambia and Botswana. Tell us about this.
Yes, this is a latest development that the Minister of Tourism in Zambia has told the media, that this one non-stop border post is aimed at increasing tourist inflow into Zambia. Zambia targets to attract about 1.5 million tourists this year. So he was speaking when he closed a week-long training for frontline staff dubbed Livingstone Pocket, organized by the Zambia Institute for Tourism and Hospitality Studies in Livingstone. So the minister said that the government is making every effort to make tourist numbers count into economic benefits for the people of Zambia. So there was no indication on the time frame on when this can be done, but he said it is important that this non-stop border facility is created as soon as possible to enable tourists that are in Botswana get into Zambia easily and probably go back to Botswana. And in that, the more tourists are expected to be encouraged to visit Zambia and Botswana and the neighboring nations to promote tourism.
All right. Now, the Copper Queen's first choice goalkeeper has just completed rehab in New Zealand. I understand it was on her knee.
Yes. Copper Queen's first choice goalkeeper, Hazel Nali, has completed a 2.5 months of physiotherapy and rehabilitation that kept her out of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. As you may be aware, Hazel Nali is the goalkeeper that scored the decisive goal at the WAFCON 2022 that made Zambia qualify for their first FIFA Women's World Cup. So since the beginning of the World Cup, she had a knee injury on her left knee that kept her out of the World Cup. So following that sudden chest-clasped New Zealand, and she underwent this procedure for almost 2.5 months. And now doctors did say that she can be discharged and continue her recovery in Zambia. So meaning she will not participate in the next games that Zambia is playing for the WAFCON as well as the Paris Olympics. Something that is sad, but it is good that she's now getting back into her recovery process so that she can bounce back into the team and continue what she has been doing for Zambia and her foreign club.
Yes, certainly. May she continue on that positive trajectory. Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing us the news stories from Zambia.
Thank you very much, Africa. Good morning.
Africa, good morning indeed. Now, after the weather, we're going to continue with some Zambian news, particularly the debt restructuring deals, the talks between Zambia and China, and then we're going to be getting the latest from ShopRite's first quarter sales. Stay with Africa. Good morning. Getting into economic news, China called on Zambia's other creditors to shoulder a fair burden in the country's debt restructuring after the IMF and official creditors, including Beijing, expressed reservations about a deal Zambia struck with overseas bondholders. Zambia and the bondholder committee were continuing talks, the Copper Producers Finance Ministry said on Friday, after the official creditor committee, co-chaired by China and France and the International Monetary Fund, had voiced their doubts over the last several days. It did not give any details of what these doubts were, but campaign group Debt Justice calculated that bondholders would receive more money back than official creditors if the deal went ahead.
South African supermarket Shoprite's Q1 sales rise to 13.2%. South Africa's biggest supermarket group Shoprite said on Monday its first quarter sale rose by 13.2% as it opened 81 new stores and continued to grow market share. Many African households remain constrained by tight budgets amid a surge in living cost, but Shoprite's chain that serves either low-income groups or middle to high-income shoppers has to an extent insulated it from these shocks. Contributing to group sales for the 3 months ended September was its largest business, Supermarket South Africa, which grew sales by 13.3%. Internal sale price inflation in the quarter measured 8.3%. Its rest of Africa markets business, which trades from 9 African countries, reported sales growth of 9.7% in rand in terms and grew by a double digit in constant currency.
All right, we're going to head to the economic indicators just before Ari Hohad brings us the sport.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off today's international sports news with tennis news. The ATP finals, the best 8 men players in world tennis playing the ATP finals in Italy, and it is 2 groups of 4 players, and then there will be semi-finals with the top 2 in each group going through, and then the finals. First round games in Group A saw Novak Djokovic, the world number 1, a tough game for him, but he won against Holger Rune. The score 7-6, 6-7 and 6-3. Also, Yannick Sinner, he beat Stefanos Tsitsipas by 6-4 and 6-4. The 4 players playing in Group B will be in action on Monday, and that is the 4 players Carlos Alcaraz, Daniel Medvedev, Alexander Zverev and Andrei Rublev. Then going on to women's tennis, it is the Billie Jean King Teams Cup that was concluded in Italy, in Seville, and it was Canada that beat Italy in the final, and it is their first ever victory for Canada. A key winner or key player for Canada was Leila Fernandez. She beat Jasmine Paolini in one of the key single games, and that was 6-2 and 6-3 for Canada to be Billie Jean King Team Cup winners. Going on to soccer news, and it is the English Premier League that will take a 2-week break now because of international football, and it's mostly European qualifying for Europe 2024 that will be played in Germany. Germany not playing in the qualifiers, and they will play a friendly game against Turkey that will be on Saturday. Some of the Euro qualifying games that will take place on Friday, or first on Wednesday, it will be Israel that play against Switzerland, and they 2 and 3 in their group respectively, so important game for Israel and Switzerland. Then also on Friday it's England playing Malta, England leading that group and Malta way back at the bottom, and then Netherlands and Republic of Ireland, they play on Saturday, and on Sunday it will be Scotland that play against Norway, also important game. They 2nd and 3rd in their groups at the moment. So now the English Premier League taking a 2-week break, and it is after 12 rounds, it is quite tight at the top, just 1 point separating the top 3. Manchester City leading on 28 points, and then it is Arsenal and Liverpool on 27 points. Big game coming up Saturday the 25th of November. It will be Manchester City that will host Liverpool, and Arsenal that is in second place at the moment with Liverpool. They will have an away game to Brentford on the 25th of November. And closing off today's international sports news, it's MotoGP motorcycle news, and it is the Malaysian Grand Prix that was concluded over the weekend. That was at the Sepang circuit. The winner was Enea Bastianini. He's driving in a Ducati, and he won from Alex Marquez, also in a Ducati, in second position, and third was Francesco Bagnaia in third, also in a Ducati. And Bagnaia is still leading the overall points with his third position. Bagnaia has got 412 points after the Malaysian Grand Prix, followed by Jorge Martin of Spain, also in a Ducati, 398 points, and third position Marco Bezzecchi. He's also driving on a Ducati, 323. Ducati dominating in its in fourth position points table. It's Brad Binder on 254 points. He didn't have a good Malaysian Grand Prix. He did not finish, but he's still fourth overall on the points table. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sports news again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Taking care of children can be one of the busiest jobs in the world. That's why CrècheGuard is here to give you a little help along the way. Start the day with CrècheGuard's immune syrup to help build a strong immune system. CrècheGuard also offers other tasty supplements, such as omega-3 chews to support brain development. And for healthy little tummies, look for CrècheGuard's range of probiotics that come in drops, sprays, and delicious choc bars. Trust in CrècheGuard every day for healthy little bodies and developing minds.
All right, that's been our broadcast. Let's have a look at some of our top stories in the highlights. Self-exiled Ivory Coast ex-Prime Minister Guillaume Soro plans return. Thousands march in Cape Town in solidarity with Palestinians. Liberia's Weah and rival Boakai meet again in presidential runoff today. China calls on Zambia's creditors to take fair burden in debt restructuring. South African supermarket Shoprite's Q1 sales rise 13.2%. Those have been our stories.
We thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Africa Good Morning. We will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. On that note, we wish you a fantastic day ahead.
Swela Jakanaka.